listening to ESPN New York. You are listening to the best of the Stephen A. Smith and Ryan Ruocco Show on ESPNNewYork.com. Hear them weekday afternoons from 1 to 3 on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.
Ah, yes, blood on the leaves. Stephen A. Smith, Ryan Ruocco Show, presented by the Melrose MVP Scholarship Program. No deserving high school senior athlete, Melrose Credit Union, is awarding $10,000 in college scholarships this year. Nominate your MVP today at ESPNNewYork.com/MVP. Stephen, I know you're fired up about everything going on with Alex Rodriguez. The situation.
It's interesting. Anybody with sense obviously believes that Alex Rodriguez used PEDs. But as I've mentioned repeatedly on this show, that has not been the only issue with me. Alex Rodriguez will have his day. He said he wanted to go through the process. None of us were just buying that was it. We understood that, Ryan. And again, in the court of public opinion, he's a PED user. But what I brought attention to, and what I continue to bring attention to, is not so much the Yankees in the role they played in it, because we want to be fair to the Yankees. We want to be fair to Randy Levine, and we don't want to cast aspersions. They obviously wanted to get out from under Alex Rodriguez's contract if they could. That is not a secret to anybody, and nobody's blaming them for that. What I've often asked was how complicit Major League Baseball and the Yankees were in trying to facilitate that happening, because I believe to some degree that's what provoked the 211-game suspension. Because remember, we were anticipating a lifetime ban. You with me so far?
I am.
Where I'm at now is simply this. Alex Rodriguez clearly ain't going away, man. He's clearly willing to fight this to the finish, even if it means going to federal court. If you're Major League Baseball, you're any sports league, you don't like federal court. You don't want any parts of that, because you don't know what kind of Pandora's boxes those are going to open. And that's where it gets a bit dicey. I say all of that to you, Ryan, to say, it goes back to what Andrew Marchand brought up. If you're Bud Selig and you're Major League Baseball and your mission is to rid the sport of PED use, what's your hesitancy in speaking to lawyers during an arbitration hearing that's supposed to be justifying why you came up with the 211-game ban, as opposed to a 65-game ban by Ryan Braun, as opposed to a 50-game suspension by Nelson Cruz or whomever else ended up getting suspended? What is the aversion to that? And so to me, once again, without trying to absolve Alex Rodriguez from anything, because clearly I don't think that this is going to that point, it does make me raise an eyebrow and ask myself, you're the commissioner. Why do you have a problem giving testimony off of a cause you've adopted? You've been the ringleader. You've been the missionary on this. This has been your baby. You should be chomping at the bit to give testimony. What's the problem? I'd like to know. Alex Rodriguez, to me, has done a masterful job of creating a lot of questions about some other people, because evidently it's not as simple as PED use. There's something more to this than that. Because even if you had suspended Alex Rodriguez 50 games, 65 games, Ryan, who would say anything? Alex Rodriguez would look like a damn fool trying to fight that.
Right.
But the fact that you went 211 games says there's something more. Now, they're trying to say tampering with the investigation and all of this other stuff. Really? Well, why are you not talking about that, Bud Selig? You've made your decision?
Because, I mean, let me play devil's advocate on that. Maybe,
please do.
I mean, Rob Manfred is the one who led the investigation. Maybe Bud Selig just wants to let Rob Manfred be the person to talk about it, because he is the person who is most well-informed and can most properly articulate why the suspension is, in fact, 211 games and what happened with the investigation.
Who said they weren't going to want to talk to Rob Manfred, too?
Well, they are. But I'm saying,
what I'm trying to say to you is that if they want to talk to him, But at the same time, they still want to talk to the commissioner who gave the marching orders. Since this is your baby, this is what you're hanging your legacy on. Where are you?
Well, look, the arbitrator, the judge himself does not believe that Bud Selig has to speak. So why is Bud Selig going to speak just because Alex Rodriguez's lawyers want him to? What obligation does he have to those people? None.
He has no obligation.
Right. The court has decided he has no obligation.
But what I'm saying to you is, Alex Rodriguez stood up and said the process is BS.
Right.
Okay? He didn't just talk about Major League Baseball. What he's doing is he's questioning the whole process. You have to remember, at one point in time or another, Alex Rodriguez didn't just question the Yankees. He didn't just question Major League Baseball. He also questioned the Players Association because the Players Association just wanted him to go away too.
Well, he's questioning everybody but himself.
Well, listen, that's a given, and we understand that. What I'm saying to you, Ryan, is this. If you are a Players Association, all right, and the player, obviously you agreed, the arbitrator was selected by both Major League Baseball and its Players Association. So in conjunction with one another, that's what it entails. He has spoken out against both because in some way he believes they've been complicit in trying to rid him of the sport of baseball. So if your thinking is they are trying to get rid of you altogether. Because, Ryan, if he's going for 211 games, look, man, with a training camp, with a spring training, rather, or anything else, he still might look like so-so compared to what he used to. For all intent and purposes, Ryan, everybody would tell you they believe he's finished. Well, what's the 211-game suspension going to do? Inevitably, it's your death sentence as a Major League Baseball player. So you get rid of him indirectly. It's not a direct lifetime ban, but in essence it is, because if it's 211 games, then you're not going to be able to come back from that and you'll be gone. Because you're not going to want to come back, look like straight trash, and while you're collecting your money in this market, you think it's bad now, you think it's been bad recently. Could you imagine if he comes back considerably worse, which is plausible, having to collect the rest of his money, which is approximately $60 million, looking like straight garbage? I mean, by the time New York fans get through with him, he might want to kill himself. So the point is that he considers the 211-game suspension a death sentence to his career. And if that's what he believes, and he believes Major League Baseball and the Players Association and the Yankees in some way are complicit in all of this, all I'm saying to you is shove aside the PED use. I think he used PEDs. I'm saying if there's more to this than that, I'd like to know. I'm curious. I don't want to just sit there and go like this. None of that matters because he used PEDs. No. I want to know.
Well, here's the thing. Neither side has looked good in this. Neither side has looked immaculate. There's one problem with A-Rod's strategy today I want to throw your way. We'll do that in a moment. Stephen A. Smith, Ryan Ruocco on ESPN New York.
You are listening to the best of the Stephen A. Smith and Ryan Ruocco Show on ESPNNewYork.com. Hear them weekday afternoons from 1 to 3 on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.
All right, Stephen A. Smith, Ryan Ruocco Show, presented by the Melrose MVP Scholarship Program. Noah deserving high school senior athlete, Melrose Credit Union is awarding $10,000 in college scholarships this year. Nominate your MVP today at ESPNNewYork.com/MVP. All right, we'll talk with Mike Woodson tomorrow at 1:30 right here on ESPN New York. You guys want to chime in on what Stephen A. and I were discussing Knicks-wise. I mean, Stephen, we might as well get it started with Dre, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Dre in West Palm. Dre, you're on the Lexus of Route 10 hotline. How are you, friend?
What's going on, my brothers? How y'all doing today, man?
Good.
What's up?
Ryan Ruocco, you had asked Stephen A. a question, and it made me think about it. You asked him what's going to lure Carmelo Anthony over here with his player as of late, correct?
What's going to lure him?
No, I mean, lure players, pardon me, lure players to come to New York to play with him because of his play last night.
Well, no, my question is more like, not because of his play last night. My question is more, what's more attractive to a prospective free agent in 2015? A clean slate or playing with Melo? I'm not sure the answer is playing with Melo.
And I can understand that, but I think other players like the Kevin Love or the other elite players in the NBA would probably look at Melo like, you know what? I can get the best out of him if I play with him. Obviously, he has no superstar next to him with the Knicks. You know what I mean? But you know what, guys? It happened last week, Stephen A. Also, when my man Mike Woodson was on the show, and he kept saying that when you guys asked him about the trade rumors, that he talked to Iman, you know, you should be, this is the business, you should be happy. If you know, like, to me, like that, you tell a 23-year-old cat that and expect him to go on
Dre,
his business.
Dre, hold on. He didn't say those exact words. What he said was, you got to figure out a way to handle it. I'm here to help you, but you got to handle it because it's the business. There's nothing we can do about it. He didn't say you should be happy you playing in the NBA and all that. He said it's a part of the business. And I said to him, if you remember, Ryan, I followed up by saying, did you assure Iman that he's going to be a part of this team? And he said, no, I can't do that. I don't have the authority to do that. I don't get to sit there and tell him that he's definitely going to be a part of this. So that's what he was alluding to. And that's all he said. And you know, I can't put that on Woodson like that.
I understand what you're saying. And Stephen, you talked about Carmelo Anthony getting out of here. Melo, all we ask of you as Knicks fans, do us the same courtesy you did the Denver Nuggets front office when you went to them and told them, trade me now and get value for me while it is what it is and let me sign off and go somewhere else. Do the same thing with Dolan if you decide to leave. And Stephen A. Right, Ruocco, man, this is looking bad. The fix is in.
You know, it's interesting. It's interesting that you say that, Dre, because that is a very valid point that Melo, you see, he doesn't know. He thinks he wants to stay. Mm-hmm. The problem is that as it gets progressively worse, he's going to want out. So the question is he willing to do it? That's going to be the thing to watch over the next 2 months. As the Knicks nosedive, unless they get this together, is Melo going to be as considerate for the Knicks as he was with Denver by saying, I want out, just make this happen?
Right. My feeling is,
I don't know if he's going to do that.
I don't think he'll know.
He won't know. Number one, and number two, the New York market is a lot tougher to deal with between February and April or May than Denver is.
Well, look, he won't know, and ultimately, I think if it's up to the Knicks, they still want to keep Carmelo Anthony.
Well, they definitely want to keep him. They definitely want to keep him.
Right. And even if they did believe, Stephen, that, you know what, our best way to get to a championship is to clean house, make sure we have nothing on our books for 2015, and go and get some draft picks because we don't have one this year and we don't have one in 2016. Even if they believed that was the best strategy to build a championship team, the actual following through with it is very difficult when you just, put a ton of money into a brand new arena and you're taking away the marquee attraction to that arena.
Well, I will tell that is true. I will tell you that if you were starting off with a clean slate, I believe, I don't know about Allen Houston and Steve Mills, but I think they deserve the opportunity to prove themselves before everybody's judging them since they're here. Because Steve Mills was a part of that Madison Square Garden fabric, and what people may question, he lacked some basketball knowledge, which I don't. I don't consider him a basketball guy. I consider him a businessman. But that's not to say he doesn't know basketball, because I believe he does. And I know Allen Houston knows basketball. I just don't trust Dolan to leave people alone, to let them do their job. It's not like he suffocates them or bothers them in terms of basketball decisions. It's that he's constantly mindful of the macro, as you would say, Ryan, the macro picture.
Right.
Cablevision, MSG, and the Rangers, all of that's what he does. And that gets in the way of people trying to just make basketball decisions. And so when you have that going on, that's problematic. That's one of the reasons he's got his media policy, because everything could potentially affect the brand and the bottom line. And, sometimes that gets in the way. And it gets in the way when it comes to Dolan and the Knicks. And so that's a problem. And it's a headache. And if it's a headache, you're not going to get marquee guys. You've got Woodson, who I think can do a good job for you, but you got to help him.
Right.
You got to give him players. He doesn't have any right now. And by the way, 2 pivotal moves. You have spoken about this ad nauseum in terms of, it's actually 3. The first one is what you bring up about not amnestying Amari.
Right.
When they could have amnestied Amari, okay, let go of Chauncey at the end of that year.
Right.
And then they would have had stuff to add to Tyson and Melo.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you weren't going to do that, then you turn around and point number 2 is what you do is you look at a Tyson Chandler. Grunwald didn't want to wait for Chris Paul.
Right.
Can't knock that. Didn't seem to be the wisest move, though. And then last but not least, you add Andrea Bugnani because, again, he's on the books for $11+ million through next season. So the combination of all of those things combined with the haphazard way in which things have suddenly changed, you're an outsider, like a LeBron and others looking at the Knicks. They suddenly seem just as attractive as they seemed years ago, which is to say not much.
Mark in Queens. Mark, you're on with Stephen A. and Ruocco on the Lexus of Route 10 hotline.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good.
Good. I just had a comment. You guys mentioned about blowing up the team, the Knicks, and maybe restarting. What would the trade value be for Carmelo Anthony or Tyson Chandler?
Well,
what would the
let me tell you. Let me tell you
it'd be
this.
high.
Let me tell you this. It would be high for Carmelo. There's no doubt about that. But the other thing to take into consideration is that it wouldn't be as high as people think because you have to remember Carmelo is expected to opt out.
Right.
And it's either has to be somebody who needs a star and would want to make sure he's going to resign with them, or somebody that's looking forward to him opting out just so they could get those huge numbers off their books. But if you're the Knicks, why would you help somebody do that? Especially for a player you pretty much want to keep.
Right. Trading Melo is complicated because of the free agency status. But do I think if you were hell-bent on dealing him or dealing Tyson, could you end up with a first-rounder or two back? Yeah. But you don't know yet that is – bottoming out is not necessarily the best route yet. We do the Atlantic Division, it is wide open.
It is wide open.
And Tyson Chandler is going to come back to this team
the first
at some
place
point.
The first place team is 2 games under 500.
Right.
That's the Philadelphia 76ers. And Tyson Chandler is going to come back. And J.R. Smith can't get worse. And Iman Shumpert is going to get better. And we hope that Raymond Felton gets healthy. And Andrea Bugnani, personally speaking, I've been relatively impressed with him. I don't have a problem with Bugnani.
No, he's played well.
I will tell you this. I'm not a proponent of trading Melo. I love me some Melo. I don't like what I'm seeing thus far, but I love me some Melo. I'm feeding off of what I saw last year. He's big time. The issue is that Melo is a star, but he's not a superstar because he doesn't have the same impact on both ends of the floor, and he doesn't necessarily make guys around him too much better. He's just a scoring machine. I want this man on my team. I want him to be one of the stars on my team. He just needs more. And you got to get him. Your answer can't be Andrea Bugnani. It's got to be something else. Stephen
A. Smith, Ryan Ruocco with you on ESPN New York 98.7 FM. We'll get a chance to chat with our good buddy John Sally. Always gives us interesting NBA perspective and just an entertaining guy all around. So join us in a moment on ESPN New York.
Thanks for listening to the best of the Stephen A. Smith and Ryan Ruocco Show on ESPNNewYork.com. Be sure to listen weekday afternoons from 1 to 3 on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.